Hi everybody, my name's Scott Dawson and I've been invited this morning to come and talk to you. I'd have loved to have been here in person, but I unfortunately have been called away. This morning I would like to talk to you about something called resilience. In other words, another way of putting it is never giving up. Now, you may be wondering why it's me that's coming to talk to you. But I've got a story that some people said was impossible to complete. So what did I do? Well, earlier this year I swam around the Isle of Wight non-stop, 65 miles. It's like swimming from here to London. So it was quite an epic adventure, and it's something that I've been asked to talk to you guys about. So I jumped in the Solent just off Ryde, and I swam towards the Needles. You may have seen the Needles on the news. It's the one with the big red lighthouse and the big white cliffs at one end of the island. So I swam all the way through the Solent. I swam around the Needles, and I carried on swimming all the way to St Cat's, which is the southernmost point of the Isle of Wight. Now when I got there, the tide turned, which was a little bit unfortunate. We knew it was going to happen, but the tide did turn against me, and for 6 hours we didn't go anywhere. In fact, in some cases we just went backwards. But that, to be fair, is a really great lesson for life. Sometimes, despite trying really hard, you may not get anywhere. So it's only with patience, determination, the tide will eventually turn back in your favour, and you'll be able to move forwards again. So with this in mind, the tide, eventually did turn back in my favour, and we carried on from St Cat's and we swam to Bembridge. Apart from being a bit cold and my shoulders were pretty sore, everything was pretty good actually. I didn't see the finish at that point. It was still too far away, but I knew I was pretty close to finishing, and I was really lucky. There was a few boats that came out to see us, and that helped, move things along for me. So 26 hours later, I came back to the red buoy that I jumped in and started swimming. So I'd swam all the way around without stopping. I didn't touch anything, didn't touch anybody, didn't touch the bottom. Well, apart from once where I kicked the Needles, but that's another story. And in doing so, I effectively have become the 5th person to do so, ever. And the second quickest. The first was an Olympic swimmer, and I'm not a career swimmer. The actual time was 25 hours and 56 minutes. But it's like starting from now and swimming through lunchtime, through dinner time, through home time, through bedtime, all the way through sleep, all the way until tomorrow morning when you come back into assembly tomorrow, and then lunchtime tomorrow. That's what 26 hours is. It's a long time, and that is why pretty much most people thought it would be impossible for me to do it. So was it hard? Yep, pretty much. Did I regret starting it? Sometimes. Did I ever want to give up? No, absolutely not. Why? Well, despite being in the water on my own and swimming on my own, I had a huge amount of help. I had a big team behind me. Some of them did really key jobs like navigating, showing me the way. Some of them, were just there to drive the boats and paddle on the canoes alongside me to make sure that they could keep going and keep passing food to me via the end of the paddles. So what I did learn from all of that is that we all need help. Never be afraid to ask for help. It gets easier if you ask for help. It gets easier to ask for help. So you don't need to struggle alone. It's fine to ask and accept it when it's offered. So when I was a lot younger, your age, maybe a little younger, I was lucky enough to go to Germany and represent England swimming as part of a youth team. I'd also just been introduced to sailing. Now, this was something I really enjoyed doing, and it meant that I ended up having to give up swimming. So sailing as a sport managed to get me to represent the UK. I went to local championships, I went to national championships, I even went to world championships. And as I got older, I decided that I was going to go to university. And while I was at university, I was lucky enough to sail with people like Sir Ben Ainsley, Paul Goodison and Andrew Bart Simpson, you may know. People that you may or may not know, but they're all doing really amazing things now in the sailing world. I've been lucky enough to sail across the Atlantic. I've sailed all around the Mediterranean, and I've even raced from Sydney in Australia to Hobart in Tasmania. Now that race is a pretty tough race. It's renowned for being really windy. To be fair, the next stop is Antarctica in the Southern Ocean. So why am I talking about sailing, you might ask? Well, I actually started talking about swimming, didn't I? Well, just like you guys do, lots of different subjects at school, some of which you'll enjoy, some of which you won't, and some of which you'll be really good at, and again, some of you might not be so good at. What matters is that you try really hard at all of them. So the different sports and the subjects that I've been able to do, sailing and swimming and football and rugby, it's all allowed me to choose the best bits and the most important bits, and helped me succeed in being able to swim around the Isle of Wight, something that people thought was an impossible thing to do. So what does that mean for you guys? Well, believe it or not, these days are probably your best days. You've got lots of opportunities out there, and you have the choice whether to take them or not. You've got chances, you can take them or ignore them. You've got opportunities, take them or ignore them. That is absolutely your choice. But if you want to do something, I'm testament to the fact that you can do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it. So with a little bit of luck and a lot of help and a lot more determination, you can actually ride that bike without stabilizers. You can climb that wall. You can pass that exam. The simple fact is, guys, you can do anything. Thank you very much.